Hi, folks, and a very pleasant Tuesday.
Hey, it's Dave. Welcome back to my guitar channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about some pedals again. This time, just some stuff that I found funny. And then also, I just thought it would be a good idea to talk about some pedals that I use and that I think are great pedals. And then there are some that I've got that I haven't. So I'm not going to demonstrate the pedals because I just think, like, number one, that's part of my beef. I recently bought a Timmy, as you saw, the red one, and I also got a black and gold, and I have a blue. I have one for each board. And how I use the Timmy is I use it as a solo boost for when I'm playing a guitar solo. It's real transparent. It just gives me a little bit more hair, at the same time more volume. So it does exactly what you want it to do for a guitar solo. It's great. And I couldn't ask for anything else, you know. Now, I was watching a bunch of videos online, and they were all talking about the RANT RAVE, or whatever the heck that pedal's called, but that's like the copy of the Timmy. And, a lot of people saying, people steal everything and it's not a big deal. And I think the problem with them was sitting there saying, oh, we did all this research and development and this is why this pedal, whatever. But, I mean, for the most part, it's a Timmy pedal that costs $400. So, that being said, but I love when you watch the demos, people are like, oh, I like the Timmy, I like the RANT RAVE. It's so silly because you're listening to it through a pair of speakers, through whoever's microphone. I know when you hear them talk about it, that they say it's real close, you probably won't be able to tell. I mean, maybe one has a little bit more compression, but unless you're playing it, you're not going to feel it or know it. And so therefore, like, to watch a demo, to sit there and make a decision of what you're going to buy, I find it to be like, which one's better? I find it to be silly. Those pedals are so close. It was like when I was going to get a Klon, and I knew I was not going to buy the original. So I went online and I watched a bunch of demos, and I just listened to whichever one sounded close, where I was like, who can tell the difference? I can't hear it. And I ended up buying a Matthew Effects clone. Now, are there differences? I never played them side by side, so I'm like, I have no idea, but it does what I wanted it to do, and it sounded in the video close to it, but I'm not going to sit there and say, I like the clone better. I like the clone better. What do I know if I like better? I haven't played them both side by side. I'm watching a damn video. So I find it to be funny that these people are like, oh, I'm saving up for a RANT RAVE. I like the way it sounded better in the video. Yeah, you know what? You save up the extra $270. And good luck to you on that. I'm sure it'll be everything you want it to be for $400. So, now I'm not. So, what I am saying is, however, if somebody handed me the pedal and I had to take my Timmy off and I put the RANT RAVE, I'm sure I could get it to do the exact same thing that Timmy's doing. At least that's my opinion of it. Any pedal that you use, there's a certain amount of parameter that you're gonna find the sweet spot of what you want to use it for, and then not. Which brings me up to a few pedals that I'm going to talk about that I either purchased or played through and have found them to be horrible, in my opinion, or unusable. Now, I want to say, the reason I bring these up is some of these are very revered. So let me just start right away. The Analog Man King of Tone, I don't get it. I played through it. I've watched videos of people playing it, and it sounds very similar to how I remember playing it. The way it responds, I just don't like it. Now, I know it's based on the Marshall Blues Breaker or something like that. The overdrive section is, well, the Blues Breaker, the BB, what is it called? It's Exotic Effects BB. That's an excellent pedal. That, you have a little bit more leeway. The sound's nicer. The EQ is a two-band. You have the bass and the treble. I just liked it a lot better. But as far as the Marshall Blues Breaker sound, it's really not my sound. It's really mid-rangey. And what happens is when you hear all that mid-range and you play with a bass player that doesn't really, know how to EQ his settings, you have two people fighting for the same frequency. And what ends up happening? both crank up their volume because they're fighting for frequency to be heard. And I see that happen all the time. And it's funny because anytime I hear someone really loud playing, I go look over and I'm like, yeah, they got either a King of Tone or a Marshall Blues Breaker. And I just don't like that low mid-rangey sound to me. It's low to mid. It doesn't have a nice top end. I'm much more of a brighter. I like to sit on top of the mix. And if you listen to records and you isolate the guitar tracks, you'll hear that they're all sitting on top of it. You know, those guys, when they're mixing and you go to mix a record, you're not putting that fat guitar in the middle of there, or you're not going to hear a sound. You're not going to hear the bass, and it'll just sound, you know. I mean, Van Halen got away with it a little bit because, you know, it's a bit, you know, they thinned out that bass and made it real thin, and so it could sit and be heard in the mix. You know, and that's like a special circumstance. And you're not Van Halen, mind you. You know, so, I mean, in that respect, but I did want to bring up that pedal because I see so many people, especially the guys on that pedal show, they like revere the King of Tone as this great pedal. And then they show a bunch of knockoffs. And even the knockoffs, I'm like, I don't know, sound better to me in the demo. Again, I'm not there, so I'm going to take their word for it that that the King of Tone sounds better. And I played the King of Tone, and I'm like, it ain't for me. So that's the first one. My other thought is, thank God I didn't buy one to find out that I didn't like it. Unfortunately, for the next pedal, the Cattle and Bread Dirty Little Secret, I'll tell you the dirty little secret.
Man, that sucks!
It's useless. It's dark sounding. It's people say, oh, it's like a Marshall amp. What, the Hayes amp? It's terrible. Whatever it is, it's not good. All right, so going back to my pedals that I did not like, I also bought a Secret Freak. Are we noticing a trend here? If it has the word secret in it, the secret is it's no good. The Secret Freak by Full Tone. I mean, it's not terrible. I just don't find an application for it. Unless you're going to go and you want to sit there and be in a Boston tribute band, I don't see a need for this pedal. You know, it's funny, I was using it on You Shook Me All Night Long. And then one day I took it off. I wanted to put the clone back on my board, and I moved some stuff around. And when we got to You Shook Me All Night Long, I used my Angry Charlie. And I'm like, that sounds great. I don't need that other pedal. Wasn't worth it. And again, I'm not in a Boston tribute band. If you are in a Boston tribute band, good luck to you. Not that I'm not a fan of Boston. I mean, that first album's sensational. There's maybe 2 songs on the second album that I like. And then the third album,
Man, that sucks!
You know, garbage to me. And, you know, I'm a very revered band, obviously, in the Boston area. And I like the first album, although I can never listen to it ever again. It's just so overplayed to me. But anyways, moving on. So the Secret Freak and the Dirty Little Secret are both pedals that I just, you know, if you want to buy them, contact me in the comments. I got no need for them. And of course, the King of Tone I really didn't care for. There's not really much else. I mean, I don't really care for the sound of an original Tube Screamer. And I had a modded one years ago. A guy was like, oh, this guy in Westchester puts the original chip in and it's the best. So I got it. Plugged it. I'm like, yeah, sounds like a Tube Screamer. I don't like it. Tube Screamers have like a thing where to me the sound sounds like it's covered in tinfoil. It just becomes like this metallic sound to me that I don't like. And I find it sometimes in some of the Boss pedals too. And I think it might be whatever cheap buffer they're using. But although I don't think so, because when they hit it on, I don't think they're going through the same buffer. I don't know what it is. Whatever the circuit is, there's something in it that I'm not liking. And in fact, I think the Klon has that same type of thing. Not just the original, but even my Klon clone. It has somewhat a little bit of that metallic. The thing about the Klon, though, is it's a little nicer. And it's a little warmer in that respect. Where it's... And I'm not really talking about I shouldn't even say the word warm, but it doesn't sound as like the metallic-y undertone that I'm hearing when I hear the Tube Screamer. And I just don't like it. Now, I hear other people play it, and I'm like, oh, that rig sounds great. And then I see they have a tube screamer. I'm just saying, when I play it, I hear that. And a lot of times with pedals, that's really, and amps and anything else, that's what it comes down to. It's when you're playing it, how does it feel? Because you're watching these pedal demos on YouTube, and you're like, oh man, that pedal sounds great. Yeah, everything sounds great. You've got a great player. I mean, you got a guy, I mean, anyone like Lance Keltner or Pete Thorne. These guys, every time they play something, it's going to sound great, no matter what it is. They could put a piece of a quarter-inch jack into a turd and both sides and start playing. It's going to sound great because they're great players. And as a listener, we listen and it sounds good. You know, if you think you're going to go buy that pedal and that's going to be your tone, it's not necessarily the case. Now, there's aspects of that tone you're going to get, but, you know, you're not going to be that player and you're not going to have that sound, which is kind of the whole point of why I went off last time on Curtis Kent and Schnobel, is they just strum a chord, and it's like, you know, if you watch a demo and if I show you a pedal and I strum a chord, you know, I can make an A chord sound real nice, but that doesn't mean when I go to play any type of solo or individual notes that they're going to sparkle and have that same wow factor. They probably won't, you know, who knows. So I'm going to talk about a few pedals that are on my boards that I think are the pedals that you should definitely go out and either try or buy. The first one I think is the Rockbox Boiling Point. I think that pedal is the magic stuff. It's like the Tube Screamer. It can go a little bit more. It's like a Tube Screamer on steroids, kind of like maybe the what is it, the TS9 or TS10 Deluxe, whatever it is. You can get like a little bit more out of it, but it doesn't have that sound that the Tube Screamer has that I don't like. It's more than that. In fact, someone told me once that it was like a Landgraf clone, and I'm like, I don't care what the hell it is. It's great. It's awesome. Now, I think the painted box ones have a cool factor that is like, if you can find one cheap, buy one, because I think there's a cool factor to that. But for the most part, it's a green box. It's great. And I highly recommend it as being my number one drive. If you're a Strat player, I really highly recommend the J-Rocket Animal. And you throw it with mild gain, like in the middle, but turn the snarl on, which pushes it a little bit. And it gives you the sizzle, and it's just the right stuff. I did a gig where I used my Vox Night Train, and that Animal just lit it up. It was great. And so did the Rockbox. The two of them together, well, they didn't put them on at the same time. Although I did just buy a Timmy for that because I wanted to give a solo boost. And I put a harmonizer on there that I'm going to take off. You know, it's great. I bought this thing by Moore called the pitch, whatever. It's like a pitch shifter, whatever. And then I put it on. I played it. I'm like, this thing's cool. When am I going to use it? Never. So that'll come off. You know, I don't really use wah pedals, although I think the Exotic Effects has a great wah. I think the AC Booster by Exotic Effects is a great pedal. I think that company is a great company. They're great guys. I stand behind them. I just think that the Exotic Effects AC Booster is really happening. I use it as like a clean, like a bright switch. But if you use it as a drive, it's just nice. It's really good. It's really good. And similarly, the Paisley drive by Wampler. Now, when Brian Wampler pedals came out, I would say I was in love with the company. I bought a buffer. I have 2 ego compressors, which I'm falling out of favor with. I had a Pinnacle, which I just thought there was something about that I didn't like, and I switched to the JHS Angry Charlie. I just didn't have the gain that I wanted, and it's very few times I want a certain gain. It's not even that I even keep the gain like on the Angry Charlie at like just a little bit past noon, you know, like 1 o'clock, and it still has a nicer response than the Pinnacle. So I wasn't really happy with the Pinnacle. But I think the Paisley drive is something special, and I don't know if it's because Brad got involved with it. it just has a nice sound. And when I put the Timmy behind it and use it for leads, I mean, I'm keeping it like the gain is like at 11 o'clock, so I'm not even pushing the gain at halfway, and it's it's a nice pedal. I mean, Brian does make some nice stuff. There's a couple of things that I wasn't crazy about. His tremolo, I wasn't really that thrilled with his tremolo. I think people should take a look at Diamond tremolos, and I think that's the best tremolo on the market. It's just fantastic, and so much you can do with it. It's just, it's awesome. It's really a great tremolo. If you're looking for like a fuzz, and I was never a huge fuzz fan, I really recommend the Vic Audio 73 Ram's Head. I think the price point, what you get for it, the size of it, the space it takes up, and everything else, I just think that pedal is spot on, right on the money. I think Mike Vickery does a great job with his stuff. I can't say enough about the Timmy. Like I said, I use it in the way where I use it as a boost, and I have the gain. Basically, I have the gain and the volume at midnight, and I have the bass and treble at about 10:30, and it's just a great boost. It works fantastic. It's really, I can't say enough good things about the Timmy pedal that I like. And I've seen online some people say they don't like it, and you can change the chip in it. Anyway, so you can swap the chip if you're looking for a different sound and try it any other way you want to try it. It's all good. It's just a great pedal. At the end of the day, if I have either one, and I don't even know which chip's in which one, but if I just adjust it to my ear and whatever sounds good works for me, and that's the real thing, is work with what you got. People can go and sit there and say, you got to use this and you got to try that. Just try to get your own sound, and whatever you can afford and get, you should get, and try it out. And, if you're going to go out and do a gig, there's certain things you might want to have, like some modulation effects or anything else. But, hey, anything else to make the thing sound great, make it sound great. Some people, I love the attitude when people are like, oh, that's cheating, you're using... It's like, cheating? What am I? Am I in the Olympics here? I'm fucking playing a song. I'm trying to make it sound good. I'm trying to make it sound like the record. It's on the record. Why wouldn't I play with it? It's just a whole silliness of people being competitive when it comes to playing music instead of just playing. And that's kind of one of the reasons I have this channel is, like I like to teach stuff and show stuff. Some of these channels, you can look in some of the comments and you're just trying to see what's going on, and you see all these people saying negative, nasty things, and it's just like, really, guys? Like, what's the point? I mean, unless you're making a valid point which was being discussed. Like if I'm saying something in here and somebody wants to say that they love the King of Tone and I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm fine with that. That's nothing negative. That's you having your opinion and I have mine, and we have a First Amendment. You can say whatever you like. I'm not offended by it. You could try to offend me. It doesn't bother me. I just don't care. The point is, but shouldn't we try to be some type of community and play together and be like, hey, what was that? This is how this is done and this is that. And it's like, trust me, I'm not here doing this to say, look what I can do. I don't care. This doesn't pay me anything. I'm out gigging and teaching, and that's how I make money. But it's like, there should be like a community of musicians that can talk and exchange ideas, and, that's my 2 cents for the day, for my Tuesday. Very good.
Totally agree. You guys are right on, and you're 100% right in what you were stating.